My background into AI starts in the 90s. And in 92, I wrote a paper. There's a branch of AI called fuzzy logic, which is essentially resolving what's known as a crisp input from murky information. So you get cloudy information coming in, and it makes a decision on cloudy information. What's known as a crisp decision, which is a solved decision. It's not a neural network, although there are fuzzy logic topologies that also have neural networks in them. It is not. That's the first thing. I wrote this paper. It was published in the C Users Journal, and then I was able to, excuse me.
You're fine.
Yeah, that was published in C User Journal. I have a copy of it I can send to you.
I'd love that.
That led to me taking courses through the extension on neural nets, and then I've also looked at the history of neural networks and so forth. So, and then there was no hardware back in the 90s to run any kind of neural net on, and the issue was the processing time for doing these large matrix multiplication. What neural nets actually do is this thing called linear algebra, which is multiplying two large multi-dimensional arrays, even five-dimensional arrays, which you can't imagine in your mind. You can imagine three-dimensional, like 3D, but not five-dimensional arrays.
No.
And manipulating the mathematics for doing that. I had this background in there, and I understand the math and backpropagation and the chain rule, all the calculus stuff I do. And then I took these courses to the extension and learned it. And then there was no processor powerful enough to run it. It's not worth pursuing. It's the same thing the Japanese found out in the 80s and 90s. They invested a huge amount of money into neural networks and AI, only to find out that it takes more than a supercomputer to run it. And so lo and behold comes video games, which is where my career was spent. Mm-hmm. And video games, to a large degree, use not AI per se, but the same type of linear algebra for shading, polygon rendering, and ray projection. Uses the same stuff, the same hardware. So it turns out that video games really did drive the AI, and this is what happened with NVIDIA, for instance, and AMD and others, is that they were trying to make the best video game rendering, the best computer graphics, and it just, a matter of fact, the same hardware works on AI because of linear algebra. Essentially, that's what it uses.
Interesting.
And yeah, I picked up the ball again because it got, you see it's everywhere now. People are mystified by it. I picked up the ball again. There's actually, James, really good YouTube videos on how they work for the layman. It'll explain it to you for layman, not the back propagation, but how the network is conditioned. And I highly recommend. When I talk about it, I said I can't make a better video than this. This is the link here. I put a QR code on it and make this link. But I explain pretty clearly how they work. When I took it in the 90s, there was no video images of it. You had to use a math book, and so forth. Incidentally, visual learning is the quickest way to learn something. It is. It's the fact you can go back and review it, and if it's well done, it naturally, it's very sticky because you have a visual reference. So there's also, the same guy also talks about back propagation, but there's a different guy, there, a Russian guy, who talks about back propagation for math-oriented persons. So anyway, to make a long story short, that's my background. Have I used it in my career? No, because there wasn't a processor powerful enough to run it, really. I mean, not until fairly recently at an affordability index. So this is my background in it, and I do understand the math, and I've got a background in math and science and stuff like that, so I understand it pretty well. How it works and what it does is a bit of mystery, even for people who work in that field. They don't really quite get. I mean, with back propagation, I can get the concept of thickening channels of information, which is essentially what it does. It adds a thickener to a channel of information going from one neuron to another. So more information flows down the thicker channel than the skinnier channel. So the thicker channel has a higher bias.
It mimics myelination?
It's not. It doesn't mimic a neuron. It just looks like one. If you want to make it, say it mimics a neuron, it doesn't really do that. It just kind of looks like one.
Okay.
And the math part of it makes it look like one, but it doesn't mimic a neuron. It uses these curves, and one of them is called a sigmoid function. A sigmoid function is a yes or no function. Yes, it's true. No, it's not true. It passes data through that sigmoid function, which is two-dimensional thing. It looks like an S.
Okay.
Passes data, an S rather, like that to you. Passes data through that, and it gives a crisp answer coming out, a real answer, a good answer, a number which is biased towards the truth. That then flies into another neural net, which has its other sigmoid function and different biases. And if that's, it just propagates its way through that way. The actual mechanism for doing that, it's done in discrete mathematics, and it's time sliced, because it's got a computer inside of it. It's got a clock. It clocks that thing. How they do that, I don't know how that's being done. Honestly, I haven't really looked at that. But the non-discrete world, which is calculus is not discrete. I do understand that, but the actual implementation and coding, I don't know how they did that. So I've actually worked on that.
I'm like you. I'm more of a math guy. My undergrad was applied physics.
Oh, yeah, good.
So like the things you're talking to, a lot of them are making sense. Some of the things I don't know, but I get like, sigmoid function. He shows me the way it looks. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'll send you a link when we're done to that video. It's really, really, really good. The guy's weird. He sings during it and stuff, but he obviously has a good handle on it, and the explanation, the way of explaining things, he's really good at it. So that is but I'm beginning to delve into that again, and I'm thinking about getting another degree or something and going back to school. I like to learn, and it keeps me fresh and keeps my brain working. So I'm thinking about going back to school, and I may end up there, or I may end up in the math department. I don't know yet. It's probably either that or environmental engineering. I like that stuff too. Whatever I'm interested in, that I probably am going to end up doing that at some point. I just talked to my friend about that the other day. It's like, I got to find something to do. I got rid of my R&D facility, and I'm down to this lab here, which is like 20 by 25 feet. I was at 6,500 square feet before.
Whoa.
Now, like 500 square feet or something like that. And I've just reduced my workload, and got the burden off me of doing all the stuff I was doing.
That's amazing. There's so many things I want to ask or talk to you about. I'm right now doing a little bit of preliminary consulting with a local university. They're looking at creating an applied AI program, and they also have a VR program, and I'm trying to see ways that we can utilize the two together. Emotional. Like you talked about VR and cognition being an important aspect of virtual reality's really big applications, and I think you're right. Particularly, I want to see how we could use if we could, like a non-invasive or EEG for a reference, like Carl Pribram's work on holonomic theory, I think could really be useful. And then the feedback cameras that are studying facial recognition and looking at the eye dilation, I think we gather a lot more data than we even realize.
Here's my, and I said this in 2019 publicly, but my take on VR. It's been roughly 12 years ago that we formed Oculus. We were sold in 10 years ago in April of 2014. It hasn't got the kind of legs that we thought it would have. And there are a couple of things that happen. The first one is that we were acquired by an advertising company. It's not a video game company. Facebook sells ads. I mean, if you go on Facebook, it's littered with ads. It's an effective advertising platform. We were bought by them, and they don't know anything about art and the entertainment aspect of art. That's not what they do. And they tried to internally create that aspect of their company and kind of failed miserably. when a big company when a small company bombs, they bomb, When a big company kind of bombs out a little bit on that, it's a big deal. And people who are watching that to see what's going to happen, see it not working out the way Meta said it was going to work out, right? So my take on it is that it's kind of hasn't taken off. They've had some pretty good sales. 20 million Quest headsets have sold. We sold about maybe 210,000 developer kit headsets at Oculus, roughly. And those numbers are, and that's over 12 years. That's not very good, even though the Quest is launched later than we formed the company. It's just not. It shows you that there's not a market for it. Probably because the company that acquired us, bombed on the entertainment part of it. And I couldn't work at Facebook. It's just not my thing. I like working at this game studio where you got freedom and creativity, and everyone has a mutual goal, and they're all hardcore video game people, and they just want to make the best content. That's all they care about. And you don't have people stepping on other people. It happens, but not really.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's focused on making the best art. That's what I like to work. And Facebook, it's like there's like beanbag chairs on the ground. It's like weird. I just didn't get it.
No, I get it. One of my partners was a founder at Avalanche Games. He was the COO. One of my founders was it was also a founder of Avalanche Games.
Oh, okay.
So he understands that world really well. He worked with them for 12 years after they were acquired by Disney.
Okay, they're good. You've got a co-founder then.
I've got a few in different domains. You can't do these things on your own.
All right. The thing is that with VR anyways, the other aspect is it causes vestibular illness, and the reasons behind that, we tried to fix that here, not in this place here exactly, but another building I have, we tried to fix that problem. Spent a year on it and could not fix it. And the issue is you can't run around inside of a video game and wear a VR headset and not get some sort of vertigo or dizziness from it. It just, you get a mismatch between them. There's no way to fix that I could find. So you've got the vestibular illness. 10% of the people who put the headset on don't feel well. That's not good. 20% of the people absolutely love the thing, and the rest are kind of middle of the road on it. The other thing is the high cost of goods. I know that $360 for Quest 2 headset seems reasonable, and they sold 20 million of them, 10 million returns. That means 10 million of the people who bought that headset took it back.
They had 10 million returns?
Yeah.
Wow.
50%.
I own 2 Oculus Quests, by the way, and I owned an Oculus Go. I used it to build an EMDR-based system. If you know what EMDR is, it's a trauma therapy. But yeah.
Yeah, it's high returns. You've heard the problems with Apple's headset. And so it's just, it's really driven, Jim, I think it's the content part that they bombed on. Did you see the early releases of the metaverse that they had? It was like guys running around without legs, like stunt body. It was just weird. You just don't do that. Their rollout was done, not done well. They should have bought a studio, or they could buy 5 studios and just turn those guys loose, let them do whatever they want to do. Make it violent or whatever they're going to do, and put it in there and just put it out there and act as a publisher like Activision. Activision's a publisher. They know how to package the DVDs or whatever in a box and just give that to Best Buy, GameStop. That's what they do. They're a publisher. Take-Two publisher. They publish games like Random House or another publisher. The author writes the book and they publish it. So that's kind of how it's set. They should have done that and turn those guys loose on it. They would have had a couple of hits and people would be down their heads, but they didn't do that. And part of the other problem is the culture of the company. It's just kind of a weird place that I wouldn't fit in there. First of all, I'd be the oldest guy there. And second of all, I just don't get it. It's this special language you use and stuff when you talk to people. I guess drive me crazy. You can't swear. I swear,
I would say that being politically correct these days is really cognitively heavy.
It's too woke for me. Video game companies are not woke. It's the publishers wants to sell stuff, right? And the violent stuff sell. Driving games and FPS, they sell like crazy. And so, Roblox is an example of a game that sells really well, but and so it's not politically correct. And Take-Two's GTA 6 coming out next year. Ever played Grand Theft Auto?
Of course.
It's a blast.
It is. I remember when it first came out, I was like a dropout back in the day, and I was playing at a friend's house. I was like, whoa, this is fun, and probably not something my mom would want me to play.
That's what people buy, man. That's what they want. There's exceptions. Roblox it's a kid's game, right? That's a really good game, actually, very good. Successful. 973 million users. This is the figure I heard.
Wow.
That's huge. Yeah.
My son loved Roblox.
Maybe we have that wrong, but it just ballooned. And during COVID too, when the kids are at home and sitting around, I can't go out. So back to VR, I just think that the smart thing, what I would have done is in that position is start buying studios, just give them whatever and say, get to work, make content for us. And of course it would be PC based, something. Maybe if you had a good relationship with, Sony or Nintendo, you could get it in there, but I would have just turned them loose. And that's what they do. Guitar Hero, I work on Guitar Hero also. It's the same way. Activision had no say on what we did. As a matter of fact, this is Neversoft. When the Activision executive showed up at the studio at Neversoft, the CEO of Neversoft kicked them out, would not let them in, because he knew that they would be interfering with the art part of it. You can't do that. How come his hair is pink? Whatever.
My partner talks about this. He's like, you have to stay out of the creative's way, and he's like, it's a balance.
Yeah. Well, see, at Facebook, it was coming from the top down, the very pinnacle down. This is what we're doing. And, so you ask why they have 20 million returns. It's not that it's a bad piece of hardware. It's a very good piece of hardware. There's just not a lot of content for it. And after the disco and the other stuff you can do when you go into a bar there and there's no one in there, they're like, what do you do with it? Beat Saber? You play Beat Saber? How long can you do that? This is the other thing we found out. It's like, I worked at Electronic Arts on an exercise game, and we found that people who play video games don't like to exercise.
That's probably, I'm an exception. I use the XR Fit. I use Beat Saber till I sweat. But it's also not functional because it clogs up everything.
Yeah, the XR, I worked on Active 1.0, sold really well, 1 million units post-launch. Mm-hmm. I have to look at VG charts. And then they decided to do Active 2 with a heart rate monitor, and I built all that stuff for them. And the problem was the high cost of goods. And we found out after we built the heart rate monitor that you can't monitor people's heart rates when they're exercising. There's a liability issue with that. So you can only show them the curve afterward, right? You can't have the heart rate. And so no one looked into that at EA, and it was a bomb. It bombed. I think they buried 3 million or something somewhere, scrapped them. Didn't sell. They're selling like Costco. I walked in there. When your stuff shows up at Costco, it's big pallets of Active there. No one buying it. So they, and then of course Costco, you say, come get your stuff. It's not moving. So, anyways, this is stuff I found. Back to your question on the other thing was like Guitar Hero was a surprise to me. I went and saw it. I saw it at CES in 2005. They had a room in back that they were doing demos for people, and they had a PlayStation 2 dev console there. And 2 plastic guitars were Guitar Freak guitars with the PS1 port on them, plugged in. And I thought that was dumb. I just said, no one's going to buy this. Of course, I was wrong. It was a huge 64 million units, 64 million. We had 4 factories, 24/7. It was pumping them out. And the rest is history. This is a popular game. But I had no idea. I couldn't predict VR. I just didn't think it would do very well. based on high cost and lack of content, and the fact that it makes people sick. Some people get sick while playing video games. Some people get nausea from it. So.
No, I actually really appreciate everything you're sharing with me. A lot of these things I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciate the insights. I know you're saying you're wanting to go back to school to get another degree, but I would love your insights if you're interested in participating in the book on anything related to AI based off of your background. I know you said you haven't really focused on it, but you have a huge background in technology, and your insights are valuable.
Thank you. I can help you out with the book, I just don't know what exactly you want from me in terms of that. Is you want me as telling a story about it, or like talking about how it works?
What I would like to do with you is similar to how you have projections on the Oculus and VR.
Yeah.
I would love your insights in what you think the directionality might be with AI. And it's a place like where it's going, like your experience, you'll have things that other people won't understand.
So here's one way so for a video game, let's say, maybe an example, Call of Duty, which is mission-based and multiplayer, right? So you all have a common goal. This is the key. Having an AI design a plot for that without human input, a super experienced video game producer, designer guy. I know some who are super experienced, know exactly how to put hooks in, right? Here's a hook, right? AI can't really do that I can see. But what AI can do is design the assets, the cars, the buildings. And in Grand Theft Auto 5, all that was done by hand on AutoCAD. That's how they do it on AutoCAD, So if you could just describe the building, you say you want it brick, I want broken windows, I want smoke coming out of one of the windows, and I want a light flickering. You can just describe that in human language to it, and it would produce it. That would save huge amounts of development time and cost.
It would. I don't know if I just literally a couple days ago, NVIDIA showed a demo of generative-based virtual reality.
Yeah.
I don't think that of generative-based, so you type and it does it. Of course, it's not on the level of what you'd have to do to make something useful, but it's still nice to see it.
Yeah, you've seen there's animations. I don't know what program does that online with. They're kind of nightmarish, actually. Just, kind of stuff, hellish visions that I've started seeing lately. So, hey, send me a link if you get a chance to that NVIDIA thing. I'd like to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
At Oculus, when we were tuning our headset, this is in 2011, 12, DK1 had to be tuned. It's an LCD display. Sorry.
No, fine.
And the LCD has each pixel has an opening and closing time. It's a chemical reaction, right? It's a liquid crystal, right? So it's a little weight on top of that, and it's diameter and it's backlit and it opens up, and that gives you the intensity. Each pixel has to be tuned, with a register telling it by discovery how long it took to open. So you open each pixel, and it has a camera in front of it, right? But we had no such equipment in Oculus, so we were at NVIDIA over in Santa Clara, and it was just one little building. There wasn't much to it. I mean, as far as I could see, it was on a corner, and now look at their huge giant campus there on Central. It goes on and on. It's all beautiful and new, and this is the guy who used to be a busboy at Denny's who created this.
I didn't know that. I don't know his history. That's awesome.
Yeah. He worked at Denny's. He was a busboy in college, so
that's pretty cool.
That'll teach you some humility,
Absolutely.
So I don't know him. My boss knew him, and he's the one who got our foot in the door there. And Jensen arranged us to be able to tune our headset and stuff there. So,
Is Jensen his first name or last name?
Jensen. His first name is Jensen.
Okay.
He's the Taiwanese, American-born Taiwanese guy.
Okay. No, the only reason I brought that up is there's a local guy here named James Jensen. He used to own the Void, and now he owns Jump. He sold Void to Disney. Disney shelved it, and he's now doing Jump, which is research based off of jumping from high heights and doing the squirrel suits.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I met that guy. Is he in Arizona?
He's here in Utah right now.
Oh, Utah. I met him. I met that guy. I met him at an event I go to in the Alliance it's coming up here September 10th. I met him there, so yeah.
Well, what I would like to do from here is I would like to set up how I want to strategize working with you and figuring out what that looks like and then present a proposal to you and go from there. I don't want to take any more of your time, but what I'll do is I'll send you that link to the NVIDIA research. I'll send you the summary of our conversation today just so you have it on hand.
Yeah. Sounds good, James.
Okay. Let me think this through.
Where in Utah are you?
I'm in a place called Highland, Utah. It's just south of the point of the mountain, south of Salt Lake.
Oh, okay. I just got back from Vegas while I was in Henderson.
Oh, okay.
I just got back today. It's pretty close to Utah.
It is. I've been down. Of course, I've been out that way. So.
Yeah.
But no, this was very useful. Yeah. I really appreciate you.
No problem. Anytime. And then if you don't hear from me, get a hold of Jessie because I don't do my email very well.
You're fine. I want to also let you know I'm going to be meeting with UVU, Utah Valley University, this week and next week. They have brought in a guy who's going to be doing their AI program. They're re-engineering their VR. I would just like to make a connection. I don't want to necessarily go anywhere, but if you're okay with that.
Sure. It's no problem. I'll help you out there.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. I'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Hey, we'll see you later.
Okay,
Nice talking to you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.